went to the kids are all around, so.
We haven't carnival.
Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone and to call to order this regular select board meeting. Today's date is April 22nd, 2019. It's 7 p.m. and this is the Callahan Room, the Dalton Town Hall. I ask that all who are able to stand for the pledge. And Mr. Bishop, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nancy, could we have the roll call, please?
Certainly. Mr. Stroud.
Here.
Mr. Bishop.
Here.
Mr. Bartels.
Here.
Mr. Holland.
Here.
Mr. Boyle.
Present.
And Mr. Walto. Not here.
Mr. Walto is excused this evening. Okay, the next we have minutes from April 8th, 2019 to approve. And before we have a motion, does anyone have corrections or additions to make? I just have a couple, and it's mainly just last names type of things.
By all means.
On page 2, with the Dalton Park Realty Trust,
Yep.
the next to the last line in that, it's Michael Deep instead of Deet
Oh, with a P. Thank you.
with a P. On page, I don't know if you wanted to number the pages or not, too. On page 1, 2, 3.
Alright.
On page 4, 7 lines down in the middle.
Sentiment and said the vendor.
Yeah, that line. Instead of my name, it should be that Barden, Mr. Barden. Oh, and the last one I have is under the technical assistant agreement on the next page. The 8th line down where it says task 1
Yes.
should be article 1,
Oh. Okay.
and that's all I have. Any others? Okay, can I have a motion, Barry?
I make a motion we accept the minutes of April 8th, 2019 as corrected.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. Okay, next we have the public address to the board, and at this time, the public may address the board on any item listed on the meeting agenda or on any issue or matter of the town. If you intend on addressing the board at this time, we ask that you do the following. Please identify yourself by name, address, company, or institution you represent. The public address to the board will last no longer than 30 minutes. Please make your comments concise and try not to repeat statements made by others. Please address your comments to the board chair. Discussion or debate on any issue may not take place at this time. Questions on procedural matters may be answered by the chair or their designee. Please be cordial and respectful of others. If anyone wishes to be recognized when an agenda item is discussed by the board, please make the request at this time. The request may be granted by the board chair. And again, address your comments to the board chair and be concise. Is there anyone who would like to address the board at this time? Yes, sir.
My name is Brian O'Neill,
Yes.
326 Old Windsor Road. I've just come to my knowledge that there's been an issue with the vehicles on my property. I'm working with Chief Co. and the Dalton Police to get them out of there. It's very wet and muddy back there this time of year. So there's a few that are for like off-road use and for Lebanon Valley that are there, and a couple that need to be junked, and then I'm also between shops. I'm getting out one shop and moving to another one. I'm looking for another shop, and they give me till June 1st to solve the situation. So just wanted to make that known.
Can we clarify something? Did we give an extension? Because I don't remember, to June 1st, or has there been an extension given?
Not on this.
Not on this.
I through conversation today, and hearing what the situation was and how he got rid of one today, and there's further to come, told him, look, we understand the wetness, so we'll take it out by June 1st, which has been what we're doing with everyone else. And again,
Okay.
compliance is the goal.
Okay, yeah,
So I was just thankful to have some dialogue.
okay,
Yeah, my main thing is trying to find a new shop. As soon as I find a shop, we'll get them all out of there.
understandable.
They're just in between right
Yeah.
now.
Thank you for coming in and explaining it.
All right. Thank
That's
you.
good, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address the board at this time?
Jack,
Or,
excuse me, Mr. Chairman. Can I ask Mr. O'Neill a question? It wasn't clear to me if all the vehicles are gonna be removed, or if the remaining ones that you raised at Lebanon Valley are going to stay.
Not sure if they're able to stay. I would like them to, but that hasn't been even. I was just working on the ones that were going first.
well then, let's clarify issues before the June 1st date,
Okay.
if that's the case, so that we can make a decision either way. Is that
Yeah,
okay?
right. Let clarify with the chief.
No, that's fine. I finally made contact with Mr. O'Neill, and I told him about this, it not being on the agenda, and if it needed to, he would be invited back at a later date if we had to fine tune some things. But I thought it showed good faith on his part to introduce himself and tell you what his situation was. And I told him that if there was going to be more dialogue, we would invite him back, and he was open to that.
Could you come back on the 13th?
Yeah, that's fine.
And we'll discuss a formal extension?
Okay.
Okay. Meetings at the same time, same place.
Okay.
Talking May 13th?
Yes. Yeah. And usually it has, whatever extension is asked, has to be in writing.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be real formal, but it should be in writing.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, anyone else? Okay, I know from previous conversations that there are at least a couple people who would like to be recognized on item number 12. Okay. Which, what I'll do, not right now, but I'll bring that item up sooner to the forefront here. Okay. Well, at this point in time, we have the pleasure of recognizing an individual for their, extraordinary efforts to a emergency situation in town. And we spoke about this at our last meeting in regard to the pedestrian motor vehicle accident on Main Street at River Street. And there were two individuals who immediately jumped to the aid of the pedestrian who was struck at that intersection. And one being Dr. Ed Hornstein and a Mr. Craig Ostrander. And Mr. Hornstein isn't able to be with us this evening, but I understand Mr. Ostrander is here. And Mr. Ostrander, if you could just stand for a moment, just so everyone can recognize you. Mr. Ostrander was one of the two individuals that really was instrumental in saving the life of this pedestrian, assisting the fire department, emergency response teams, without any concern for himself, and that's greatly appreciated. And because of that, Sergeant Furlong, who was standing out in the hallway here, recognized this and brought it to our attention and asked that we consider both of you for the civilian, let me get the wording right, Civilian Civil Service Award in recognition of such. And by all means, without hesitation, we thought it was extremely appropriate, and we thank you very much. But I'd like to read, before we have any type of presentation, you may sit if you wish. I'd like to read a letter of commendation that was given to us by Chief Coe, and it's dated today, and it's a letter of commendation life-saving award. It says the Dalton Police Department would like to recognize Craig Ostrander of Pittsfield for his heroic actions on March 26, 2019. Responding officers believe his actions prevented a more tragic outcome of the pedestrian who was hit by a motor vehicle. Immediately after witnessing the traumatic collision, Mr. Ostrander, without hesitation, ran to the aid of the pedestrian and assisted Dr. Hornstein of Hinsdale, who also ran to the victim's aid. Together they rendered aid which included holding traction, using a cloth to apply pressure as an attempt to stop loss of blood from the obvious head trauma, as well as perform rescue breathing to ensure continued circulation. The victim is alive today and expected to recover from his life-threatening injuries. It is for the brave, selfless actions of Mr. Ostrander that members of the Dalton Police Department, with most heartfelt gratitude, issue this letter of commendation. Respectfully, Jeffrey E. Coe, Chief of Police. And Chief Coe is with us this evening for this matter and for others, and I don't know if the chief would like to add anything to that, but it's a very nice letter that you...
If you don't mind, I just would like to say thank you again, but I want to offer an opportunity for the first responder who was there on the scene and ran, who maybe in a few words can tell you how much it meant to him to have this help from a citizen.
Sure. So the victim had suffered a very severe head trauma amongst multiple other injuries. And upon arriving on scene, Mr. Ostrander and Dr. Hornstein were already in the roadway trying to control the bleeding, administering first aid, and really trying to render life-saving aid to this individual. I've been on the side of the coin where it's just been me waiting for somebody else trying to get there, and to have two people available right off the get-go, an extra set of hands to maintain certain things while I did others, was just an immense help, and I can't tell you, how much I appreciate that. I truly believe that your actions contributed to that person living through this traumatic event. So I want to thank you. Thank you, sir.
It's a wonderful thing that you did, and before I present you with our certificate of appreciation, I'd like to open up a discussion or comments from the board, if there are any.
Thank you very much. That was great what you did.
It was a very brave thing to do. It's got to be awful hard just to react like that. That's pretty cool. Thank you.
Anyone?
Hey, I can only echo the sentiments of Chief Coe, the sergeant, and the rest of the board. To see citizen involvement in an issue like this, I take it was adverse weather. This was in March?
It was in March. It was actually a rather nice day that night.
Really? It was during the daytime?
It was, yeah.
Okay, well, that's good. But, hey, we can only commend Dr. Hornstein and Mr. Ostrander, and we appreciate your involvement in our community activities.
As a police officer, the greatest thing is when somebody wants to jump in and provide first aid for you. Because it's the last thing we want to do, so thank you.
Well, Mr. Ostrander, if I ask you to step up front for just a moment, put you kind of on the spot here, but well deserved, to make this presentation. And I'm going to give you a copy of, why don't we face the camera here? All right. Okay, is that a good sign? Okay, all right. This is a copy for you that I'll leave here. But this is a certificate of recognition, Town of Dalton, Massachusetts. The Select Board of the Town of Dalton, on behalf of the citizens of Dalton, hereby extends their sincere appreciation to Craig Ostrander with this certificate to acknowledge your courage and heroic efforts in assisting the Dalton Police by rendering first aid to a pedestrian who was critically injured during a motor vehicle accident on March 26, 2019. Given under our hand seal this 22nd day of April in the year 2019, and is signed by the board members, myself, John Bartels, Robert Bishop, Mark Strout, John Boyle, and Edward Howell. Congratulations. And by all means, if you want to stay for the whole meeting, you can, but I understand if you want to leave too. We'll be here for a long time. But thank you so much for being here, and thank you for what you did.
Thank you. Dalton Forum of Merck. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
You're welcome. Good night. Thank you. Okay. At this point in time, as I said, I'd like to move an item up, item number 12, which is the Wauconda School Building Committee and Central Berkshire Regional School Committee reports. And this is the time when I usually report to the board on what has been taking place on both committees. And quite frankly, there have been no meetings since our last meeting, so there really isn't anything to report with regard to those two committees specifically. I can say that the School Building Committee and School Committee will be meeting on April 25th, 2019, both at Wauconda. The School Building Committee will be meeting in the library at 4:30 p.m. and the School Committee will be meeting in the cafeteria at 7 p.m. The agendas for the School Building Committee is not very involved. It's going to be talking about upcoming meeting dates and working group meeting dates. And those working groups are Finance Committee, which I'm part of that School Building Committee, as well as curriculum and some other things. So there will be some meetings coming up. And this is an organizational meeting, so to speak, that's going to be on the 25th. School Committee meeting will it will more or less be business as usual during that meeting, and there's nothing extremely out of the ordinary or extraordinary that will be taking place on that, except for the authorization of the school committee chair to sign the project scope and budget agreement for the Wauconda building project. And lastly, there's a finance subcommittee of the school that's going to be on April 23rd, and which I'll be attending, which is tomorrow. And during that meeting, they're going to have another update on the Cummington withdrawal. So I'll have something on that for us all. I won't be able to attend the meetings on the 25th, and you'll understand why when I explain my meeting at the Senior Center later on during the meeting, during our meeting tonight. So at this time, I'd like to open it up to one or two of our citizens who would like to make a comment or comments with regard or have questions in regard to the Wauconda School Building Project. And with us this evening is Helga Knappe of John Street. I want to say 27.
No, 20,
I was close.
21.
21, okay. 21 John Street. And Mary Lamke of Kirshner Road, and I don't remember your house number. 529. So, Helga, I know you wanted to make a statement. You don't have to stand, please, unless you really want to.
Yes, because I feel that this popular vote really was kind of pushed around, and you know darn well with a popular vote you were going to get the way you want it.
Mm-hmm.
I still feel that should be the regional vote and should go by the finance company because we cannot afford it. We have an awful lot of people here that don't make the kind of money that to support the school. I mean, there's how many kids are in school? 449. We got over 1,600 seniors, you know, and most of them are all single the other, not parent, but the other company passed away. And I really think that should be taken into consideration. We just don't have it.
The, you can continue if you have something more, if you,
No,
unless you want me
but
to.
I feel,
I can respond to the popular vote. And this was something that we as a board considered back last August or July, as I remember. That was I brought it to the attention. And it was a school committee decision, inevitably, to have the popular vote versus the town vote for the, I can't think of the word now.
Feasibility study.
Thank you, the feasibility study, and then later for the school vote. So it was something that was out there for a while before this vote did take place. I can say that, and that's at least 6 to 8 months prior to the actual vote. As for the consideration of the cost, that was considered on a daily basis or on a meeting basis, and it was one of these decisions that was made by the committee that the amount of money that we're paying for or will be paying for a new school is near equal to renovating the old school. And that's why we went with the, decided on the new
everywhere
school.
else is being stressed, all over the United States. Instead of knocking down buildings, maybe New York, Chicago, or anywhere, renovate the older buildings, renovate the older buildings. That building is not that old. And anything you can put in there, with the technology that is out there, that building can be renovated like a brand new and you don't have to knock it down. So, I think
Yes,
maybe
it
it should be considered instead of going forward.
It can't be considered at this point in time. The determination, the decision for a new school is what the Massachusetts School Building Authority will be financing for Dalton or for the district. It's not something that we can change the plan and do something else. The plan was submitted, approved by the MSBA, and approved by the district voters.
Okay, you build the school, what is going to happen then? A lot of people are moving out, no one is moving in. You're going to get hung with a school what is not going to be used.
I don't understand the last
It
part
will
about
come, and down the line you will find, you will remember, many years now later, there's schools that will be obsolete practically. All is going to be online, most of it.
We'll
It's
have to see if that does take place. I can't say that it will. Maybe it will, but who knows what will happen in the future. But at this time, this is what was felt was best for the district by the committees.
If the chair will, I would just like to point out, the decision about whether it was a popular vote or whether it was by the town, the number of towns voting would determine the outcome. It was not up to us, the select board here, how that was voted on. The fact that it was a popular vote was not a decision that this select board made.
Who made it?
It was the school committee ultimately makes that decision. However, in all fairness, we supported that decision for a popular vote. This board did. But again, as I said, that was back July or August of 2018. Mary, did you want to add anything?
Well, I came mainly to support Helga because she's been so upset, and so am I. You know, see, I can't. Sorry.
That's okay.
Properties, you know, we're moving. We have to move. We just can't afford to stay in town. I've done the calculations, as you've pointed out.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to cost us over $75 a week with the new addition. and we're on Social Security, and that's it. We do foster care, but we've been doing foster care for 18 years, and I'm tired of doing foster care. I'm just tired. You know, family came in 1852. They've been here on that property since then. We're the last of the Kirchners over there on that road, and we're leaving. Sorry.
That's okay. It's okay. I don't have an answer for you. I'd like to figure out your cost at $75 a week. That seems incredibly high for when you're talking about that much, but probably is with the property that you have. Could very well be.
We don't have much property left. We're on a little 2x6 stamp.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be
actually just-
$75 a month, it shouldn't.
Well, it all depends on the valuation of a property too, and I don't want to get into
All right.
finances,
Well, no,
your personal
I
finances
I
either.
did some calculation on a house here in town that is valued close to where ours is.
Yeah.
And it's just a little Cape Cod
Yeah.
in the center of town. And with the valuation that they have, it's about $3,300 a month, a year now for their taxes.
Mm-hmm.
That can't be right.
And if it goes up to $2.66
Total.
a piece, you know, what they're talking about, that's gonna be another $469, give or take, a year. So that bumps it up to over $3,800 a year for taxes. You divide that by your 12, that comes out to about $319 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Divide that by 4, you're talking almost $80
Mm-hmm.
a week.
For your total tax. I misunderstood
Yeah,
you. When you
me
were
too,
saying
yeah.
that, I thought you were
Yeah.
talking about the additional tax.
Oh, no, no.
Not the total tax.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
the total tax. Yeah, it would be that high. Our taxes are that high right now.
They are.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not including what's gonna be happening with Dalton Division, what's happening with the sewer department out in
Mhm.
Pittsfield, the residual costs already for the old Dalton High coming down
Mhm.
and building, you gotta mitigate the water situation over there. There are so many other things that are gonna be taxing the seniors, and it's not just the seniors. When Helga called this afternoon to ask if I would come, I said, you know, I used to think about when my husband and I, first husband, we were a young married couple, and said, you know, you'd listen to the seniors going, we're on a fixed income.
Mhm.
And I would say, but so are we. You know, my husband was working and you only get X number of dollars a week. So it's not just the seniors that are gonna get hit hard. It's gonna be the few young people that are in town that are gonna get hard too. Both mom and dad have to work to keep a job going or keep a house. And it's, you know, the numbers are going down. There's no kids here. Population is over, you know, seniors are 55% of the town in Dalton now. And it's tough. And, you know, before the school vote, there was 43 properties on the market.
Mm-hmm.
I checked today, there's now 53 on the market.
Mm-hmm.
These people leave town, your income base is gonna just go down the tubes.
It could very well happen. Hoping that it
But
won't.
anyways,
Yes.
If I may say,
Yeah, go right
the
ahead.
problem is, these are just costs that we have no way out of. I
Right.
can't see, I would love, you know, to reduce taxes. I just can't see how we can not have these
Yeah.
increases, because these are just expenses that we can't ignore. Even
Yeah.
if we renovate the old school, it's gonna be very expensive. And the other expenses you mentioned, these are not optional things. These are being really forced on us by law.
oh, and I realize that because I watch the select board meetings just about every week anyways when you have them. And have been very involved with the senior center and the whole 9 yards. And so, you know, on the building committee, on the zoning board, the families have been involved for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And it is, and I know that. But that doesn't make it any easier. on the
No,
people
it
that are
isn't,
gonna pick up
and
the
I wish
money.
somebody could come up with a
The,
solution to ease the pain, but I don't see one right now.
The cost may be spread over a period of time if we were to renovate, but the cost would still be there.
Mhm.
It would increase and increase and increase.
And
Yes,
possible for me to address you guys?
with regard to this subject?
Yeah.
You may identify yourself and,
I'm Allison Peters, the director of the Dalton CRA. And I just wanted to make everyone aware of a grant that the Dalton CRA distributes. It's called the Neighbor to Neighbor Fund. And it helps people out in situations like this where they typically can make ends meet, but something comes up and they can't. Excuse me. And we give out grants up to $500 per year. So I know that, I don't even know when this tax increase will go into effect. It's probably not for
Art, the
couple
tax, the way we're figuring is will impact us 2 fiscal years from now.
Okay. Well, I'm just assuming that maybe this fund will still be available. But it's called the Neighbor to Neighbor Fund, and if people want to apply for it, they can just contact the CRA, talk to me, and just kind of have to explain their situation, but it's a very simple process. The application doesn't take long. The turnaround is pretty quick, and we can grant up to $500 per year to a household.
Thank you.
Thank you, Allison.
Thank you, Allison.
And, you know, we're aware of that, being down at the senior center, a lot of the things are talked about down there. And so we're very aware of a lot of these programs, which are awesome. I did stop in and ask about tax abatement, and in talking with Laura, the tax abatement on property would amount to about what the increase is going to be. You know, your senior housing is desperately needed in town. There's over a year waiting list for senior housing.
Yes, that's a problem. And it's, yeah,
Anyways,
yes.
we were just here to,
I'm glad you came. It's better to express your feelings than keep them in. The one thing is that this, and we'll discuss this later on when we discuss agenda item 13. No matter what takes place, the school is going to be built. That has already been decided. So it's just a matter of how the funding is done, how it's paid for. So, but thank you for coming. Is there anyone else who would like to make a comment with regard to this topic? Any board member?
Mr. Tibbers.
Hi, Joe Giver, 51 Audrey Drive. You know, it was a tough vote, and I understand the situation for fellow community members. I supported the school, and for the kids in the town, it's a big draw into the town. It's one of the reasons why I selected Dalton years ago. If there's a way we could figure out how to make ends meet and tie those together, I think we'd all try to figure that out. It's been a long, long process with a lot of people engaged and involved in the process. It's a very, very close vote. With 88 votes, we're pushing the school over. But how we can come together now, I think is the important thing, and how we can bridge this together and figure it out. But again, I hear from the community members along the way.
Thank you, Joe. Anyone else? Okay, we're gonna move on, but thanks for being here. Okay, brings us to item 7, which is a discussion and approval of the annual Dalton Carnival. And I'll read into the record a letter from Allison Peters, Executive Director of the CRA, and it's dated April 15th of this year. It says, "Dear Select Board members, as a representative of the Dalton Carnival Committee, I am writing to make you aware of our plans to hold the Dalton Carnival from Wednesday, June 5th, 2019 through Sunday, June 9th, 2019 on the grounds of the American Legion. If possible, the Carnival Committee would like to meet in April or early May to review the plan and discuss any concerns or issues. Please feel free to contact me through email or at the Dalton CRA at 684-0260, extension 102. Thank you for your time and attention to this matter. Sincerely, Allison Peters, Executive Director, Dalton CRA." Well, seeing that we have representatives from the CRA and the Carnival Committee, I'll open it up to anything that you might want to let the board know other than what's in the letter. Is there anything? It's business as usual, I take it? Hours the same?
Dan Down, 41 Gulf Road, representing Dalton Fire Department for
Yeah.
the
Carnival Association,
Yeah.
in Allison Peters. No, it's pretty much the same thing. We gonna carry on business same, like I said, the hours are on there, and hold it. We hope we get a good participation. Hope the weather holds up.
Yeah.
But last year we were concerned. We lost the Legions as the participation in their fundraising with the beer booth, and it went off without a hiccup, and we didn't have any issues, and we're going to continue on the same way this year. And any questions, they can contact me, Brendan, or Allison, in our work.
Well, it usually goes without a hitch. So, yeah, I know. Fingers crossed. Yeah.
Yeah, weather permitting.
Well, you always have fun, even in the rain, right? Okay. Well, thank you. All I need is unless the board members have any comments with regard to this, entertain a motion to approve.
I make a motion we approve the Dalton Carnival from June 5th through June 9th, 2019.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there further discussion or comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Good luck. Okay. And as I said, feel free, if people want to move out of the meeting room. I'm not trying to kick people out, but you're not being rude. I understand. It's tight quarters, and we can work around that.
The select board has to stay though.
Yeah, everyone has to stay that's at this table. Okay, we have an appointment for the police department, and I'm going to read a couple memos here. The first one is from Chief Jeff Coe to our town manager, and it's in regard to temporary full-time officers. Greetings. This is dated April 5th, by the way, 2019. I have one full-time officer that will be on light duty until approximately July 1, 2019. In accordance with civil service law, I am required to fill this temporary vacancy with an appointed temporary full-time officer from a list of those willing to accept the position. This list is provided to us by Civil Service Human Resource Division. I am asking to be put on the next available select board agenda to have the select board appoint Nicholas Gaudet as temporary full-time officer effective date of that meeting for the duration of the injury leave. And from Mr. Walto, dated today, the ratification of appointment of full-time temporary officer. I hereby recommend your ratification your ratification, the appointment of Reserve Officer Nicholas Gaudet as a full-time temporary officer effective from April 22nd, 2019 to fill in for a regular officer out due to injuries. Chief Coe's recommendation is included for your information. Thank you for your consideration of this appointment. Is there anything you'd like to add, Chief?
It's expected to be roughly till July 1st. I'm not sure if I put that in.
Yeah, you did.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, but it could be longer?
It could be longer, but recoveries are going well.
Good. Any questions for the chief?
Yeah, one quick question. Yeah. I know you've got injuries among a couple of officers over recent years. Is this an additional injury, or is this one of the ones that we've had in the past continuing?
It's not a reoccurring injury. It's a new type of injury to a new officer. It's not a reoccurring injury to a same officer. It's a different officer. In the past year, we've had 3 injuries to 3 different officers. That's
Something new. This is something new.
Yes.
No, enough said, Chief.
Yes.
Okay, any other comments?
Should I have for an end date just until the officer returns?
Yeah, you want to leave it open until the officer returns to duty?
That's fine. Civil Service requires us to give them a projected time, but they understand if it goes over. That's why we gave it. We have to scan all these letters into their webpage for them to approve, so that's why we included it, but you certainly could do that.
I'll go to July 1st.
Either way is good.
Okay.
Either way.
Okay, go ahead.
Make a motion, we appoint Nicholas Gaudet as a full-time temporary officer effective April 22nd, 2019 to July 1st, 2019.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there further discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. Thanks, Chief.
Thanks.
Okay. Did Mr. Deep leave? Or someone asking for me? Okay, I'd like to, well, we'll go by that clock. It's 7:41 PM, and I want to open as the Rent Control Board. And on the agenda tonight is Dalton Park Realty, Victoria Villa Mobile Home. And with us this evening to discuss this is Mr. Michael Deep, who is the owner, or trustee owner, of the trailer park, and our health agent at Fahey to give a report. And there are several things that are up for discussion this evening with regard to Victoria Villa, and we'll touch upon the first one, which is the the septic system. And I'll give it to you, Ed, for an explanation. It sounds like things are kind of moving.
Yeah, as I'm sure you know, the sand that was used for the septic system was not to Title V standards. So I spoke to Mr. Deep a couple weeks ago, and the timeline for replacing the defective sand, May 1st, the new sand that's going to be put in is going to be tested by a lab to make sure that it's compliant with Title V regulations.
Prior to it being put in.
And around May 1st. And if that's acceptable and it passed its tests, Mr. Deep said they'll start putting it in by May 15th, and they should be finished by June 1st. And that would be completely finished.
Okay.
The only issue may be if for some reason the replacement sand does not meet the qualifications, then other source will have to be found.
Mm-hmm.
But we're still, regardless, the Board of Health is still looking for the system to be completed by June 1st, regardless of the...
And that is through your decision, or your inspection, I should say, that it's completed for us. You will report to us through after your inspection that it's been completed.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Deep, do you have anything to comment on with regard to just this particular issue?
No, we're fine with it.
Okay.
We think we can be completed and done, and then we would just ask the Rent Control Board to meet regarding the rent increase.
Okay. Okay. Board members, anything? Okay. Well, let's move on to the next one. And this is from a letter that was sent to us by one of your residents, Mr. Glenn Garvey, who was here earlier asking what to do, and I explained to him, give us it in writing, specifying issues that are taking place at his place and or up at the Victoria Villa. And we have this letter in front of us. Now, Mr. Deep, do you have this letter in front of you?
I have not.
Or did you get a copy of it?
I did not. But what we will, if someone could send it, our maintenance department will check with Mr. Garvey and at least find out what the issues are. And if there are responsibility, we'll fix them. Okay, I have a copy.
You have a copy now. Well, the issues up there, and again, it has to do with the septic system. Let's just go over each issue here. There's 4 of them. And Mr. Fay, did you check on some of these?
I did.
Okay.
I spoke to Mr. Garvey today, so
Okay.
I can chime
Well,
in on
the first one was a septic backup, and he was told, Mr. Garvey was told by Mr. Deep that it wasn't his responsibility. But you did do some work on it, or you did complete it. He says it's still incomplete. Can we get an idea of what's going on with this particular problem with this backup, or do you know?
He explained that was an issue with the old septic system before the new one went in, that there was a backup from his tank into his trailer.
Yeah.
And there was some damage, so it's actually a civil matter between the tenant and the owner.
Okay.
I told him it's not a Board of Health issue.
Okay, you understood?
We did.
Okay,
With the new system installed, that will not happen, so this was a past issue.
okay, so system's working for him.
It will
At this
function,
point in
yeah,
time.
It won't back up.
Okay. And then I guess in regard to that, his driveway was torn up. Again, this sounds like it's an issue between tenant and landlord to take care of. Mr. Deep, is there anything you can address the board on with this thing with the driveway, Mr. Garvey's
We'll
driveway?
have our staff check with him. I'm not familiar with it, but we'll have our staff check with him and just see what the actual issue is. And if it's our problem, we'll fix it.
Okay, all right. There's another thing about a septic pipe. This is the third issue. Septic pipe sticking up at the corner of his driveway in the town road. I know he lives up on top of Home Terrace, correct? The very top. Did you see anything like this, Ed?
No, but I think I'll talk to Highway, and it sounds like it might be an issue with them, and if it is, it's probably a clean out for the system, it's just
The cleanup for what system?
for the septic piping.
Okay.
But if DPW thinks it's an issue, we can just talk to them about changing it or moving it or something.
So you think it's our problem then?
I'm not sure, I'm gonna go up on Wednesday.
Okay.
and take a look.
Okay. Thank you. The last thing was about debris being dumped from the project close to the brook that comes down there. I guess it's Wacona Falls Brook? No, that's not Wacona Falls Brook. Where is it? There are two brooks that come down through there. One crosses Wacona Falls Road. That's something different than Wacona Falls Brook.
One comes out of the reservoir.
Right, that's Wacona Falls Brook, or whatever. Is that what it's called?
Yep.
Okay. Did you see anything?
No. But
No.
I talked to Conservation, and Dom Sacco and I are gonna go up on Wednesday and have a look. The owner, Mr. Garvey, is gonna show us what he's referring to.
Okay.
He claimed it was stumps and fill and some asphalt in proximity to the brook, which if it is, it's probably conservation, but
Mm-hmm.
I figured we'd go up and look at it. And see what-
So what would take place if it is conservation? Can you?
Yep, what will
enlighten
happen
us?
is we find out, we will issue, well, usually we'll ask Mr. Deep to clean it up and then give him a reasonable amount of time to do it. If he doesn't, he gets an enforcement order.
Okay. Mr. Deep, can you shed any light on this while we're discussing it?
I don't think,
If you can't, that's fine.
I don't think my men would ever do any illegal dumping anywhere. If we did, we won't need an order, we'll clean it up immediately with a phone call. But I don't think our men would do that.
It might not have been intentional. You know what I mean? An illegal dump.
Yeah.
If they think it's clean fill, maybe they did, but, you know, it's up to the Conservation Commission and Mr. Fahey to make that
If just gives me a call
determination.
and says that's our responsibility, I will check with our foreman and,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I mean, we don't do anything, we try not to do anything illegal. We want to be good citizens in the community and, you know, we don't do work that's illegal.
Okay,
Okay?
all right. Any comments from the board in regard to Mr. Garvey's letter before we move on to the last issue?
Will we have answers to this shortly, Ed, so we can,
I'll have something by next week.
okay, good.
If you can have something by the 13th, probably be good, so. Yes, Mr. Deep?
I was hoping, if there's an issue, we'll clean it up well before the 13th.
Well, that's fine. I mean, Ed could, Mr. Fahey can probably contact you with regard to whatever finding he has, or the conservation,
Right.
Mr. Sacco, or is it Mrs. Rose?
Don for now.
Don for now. Okay, Mr. Sacco.
Well, what I was hoping is that we would be on the agenda the first meeting in June, because we hope that we'll have completed all projects by then.
Well, that's what we're hoping for, too.
Okay.
Okay. Which brings us to the last project. which I guess is a little more serious than the rest of them, is with regard to the DEP and the spill of what they were saying was about 100 gallons of fuel oil. Fuel oil?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuel oil at, trying to see what the address was. 2 Mobile Terrace. It seems that this has been going on since January of 2018, and correspondence have been sent to you with regard to this issue since that time, and you've been given a deadline of July 21, 2019 to a permanent or temporary solution statement prepared by a licensed site professional. And then again, obviously, if this is not completed by these deadlines specified, DEP will take whatever action they will with regard to this issue with you. So this is all understood by you, and go ahead.
That's a problem.
Mhm.
DEP sent me a letter making me a responsible party. What happened at that mobile home is a lady owns it, who's been to court many times because she doesn't pay her rent.
Mhm.
We've tried to evict her. She rents it out to her daughter now. The oil tank that's been there, which is not owned by me, it's owned by her, it was leaking one night, I believe in January of 18. Her boyfriend went out with a wrench, disassembled the oil tank because it needed a part. He let it drip, went down to the hardware store, bought a part, and fixed it. In the interim, while he was gone, the whole tank leaked out. This is documented. It's well documented.
With the
DEP
with the
makes me a
DEP, with the DEP.
Yes.
Okay.
DEP made me a responsible party.
Mhm.
I wrote back and I says, I am not doing anything. Well, I hired an LSP
Mhm.
to find out how much contaminant was there. It was not a lot. It's not a big deal. They're classified A, B, C. It's the smallest amount there is. So they ordered me to clean it up. I feel no responsibility, no obligation at all to clean it up. And my plan is, we've got an eviction notice served on the tenant's tenant. If we can get her out of there, tear the mobile home down, then I will try to work with the DEP. I have no intention of complying.
You're gonna
You
have
have a
to,
problem
though.
with the DEP.
I know.
You own the land that the oil's on, and the way they look at it is the owner is responsible if the land is polluted, even though the owner may not have polluted the land.
I had no knowledge of what.
I understand, but
I know.
we have this issue sometimes in town,
Yeah.
where we own some land that we
Yeah.
didn't,
Yeah,
somebody else
across Route
polluted
9.
it.
It's my land, it's not my oil tank, and it's not my oil. So
I
that's
understand.
where we're-
I understand exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
I just was sort of trying to caution you. The DEP doesn't look at it that way, though.
I know. Well, there's two responsible parties, or three right now, the tenant, the owner, and me. And obviously, those two are immune to a lawsuit. So, I know what's gonna happen. And we'll remedy it if we can get the mobile home tore down.
I would just advise you to, you better be careful because the DEP will fine you.
I know.
There's not much say with the DEP when they say do it. We found that out,
I know.
and it was really an accidental type of thing. But still,
Yeah.
we had to take care of it, and that's one of the things that we're in the quandary with too. Is we need to have you take care of it so that all these issues are resolved. And by July 1 of this, not July 1, July 21st
Right.
of this year, you have to have some type of statement, solution statement, temporary solution statement given to the DEP. And that's kind of what we're looking for
I don't
too.
know how that will play out. If we get rid of her, we maybe.
Well, I don't think that that's going to be any care of the DP,
Yeah.
the DEP at all.
Yeah.
They don't care whether she's there or not. All they care is that the oil is there on your property, and it needs to be taken care of.
Right.
How minimal it is, or how serious it is, it's up for them to determine. But it's up for you to take care of.
They determined it was a major oil leak. When we hired the LSP, it went from major to as low as you can go.
Well, it to me, and again, this is up to the board. Before we go forward with a rent increase down there, we've got to make sure that these things are all taken care of.
The DEP has nothing to do with a septic tank.
No, but we have a concern about it. I would think that we would have a concern about it. I haven't had the board voice their opinion on this, but I have a concern about it, that it's there and it isn't being taken care of.
But that has nothing to do with our repair of the septic.
No, it doesn't have
No, it
anything
That's
to
a
do with
separate
it.
issue.
It is a separate issue, but it still is an issue.
Well, let me ask this, what is our enforcement for the DEP order?
We have no
You have
enforcement.
none. It's strictly between the DEP and me. The
Right.
select board has
But when
absolutely.
when you say you're not going to do anything about it, I don't think that that's the right thing to do.
Well, he put himself in peril with DEP. He can
Yes.
end up with $1,000. Let him, if he wants to pay $1,000 a day or whatever it is, let him pay $1,000 a day.
I don't think we
He's
should be
either gonna fix-
advising them.
Hmm?
I don't think we should be offering them any advice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
I mean, it's a legal matter, obviously. We're not in a position to be offering legal advice to someone that becomes before
you're
the board.
correct. I would just
Yeah,
say,
be awful cautious of that.
I would just say you probably need a lawyer. You may have a claim against the person who did this, but you should really consult a lawyer about not missing the DEP deadlines.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, at a minimum, keep us aware of what's going on. I'm sure. Well, no, I take that back. DEP is going to send us these letters anyways, because that's how we found out about it. Is they send it to us, and we'll cross that bridge when we get to it if it does come down to that. But in regard to the other stuff with the sewer system, Mr. Garvey's things, these issues that you say you're going to take care of prior to June 1st, you're hoping, or by June 1st.
No, what I said is we would check what is our responsibility,
Yes.
we will do.
Right, right.
Yeah.
But we need to have some type of feedback so we know what is being done,
Sure.
okay? And then we'll take that up later on with the rent increase hearing, okay? Okay. Board members have anything to add? We don't have anything to really vote on here. I just wanted to make sure that things are clear about what's going on. Anything at all?
Well, I just, hopefully these things will get resolved and then we can talk about a rent increase. Until they're all resolved, I'm not in favor of one.
Okay. I think Mr. Deep is well aware of that because it's been going on for quite some time.
Yeah, but the board agreed to a rent increase if he did the sewer in an inspected and approved fashion.
Right.
Right.
So how can we not allow the rent increase?
Oh, no, as long as it's, I think what Bob is saying, as long as all this stuff is done. That's
Yeah,
all.
gotta get this stuff done first.
What stuff?
The septic system.
Oh, okay, just the
Yeah.
septic.
Just the septic. We're just talking about the septic system.
When he complies with the septic system
Yes.
approved by the Board of Health.
I know where I'm putting my money on
Yep.
that one.
Okay. So, okay. Let us know.
Thank you.
And we'll go on from that. Okay. Thank you. Now, it's 8 p.m. We're going to close as the Rent Control Board. And we're going to open as the Licensing Board. Thanks, Ed. Okay, and before us, we have the flammable fluid registration renewal forms. which if we approve, I will have to sign after the meeting. Chief, are you here for this, or are you here for just to be here? Or?
I'm actually here to listen and since I'm here, because I may have something to say if it's okay. I'm gonna listen at first.
I'm kind of, well, we have the memo here from Judy with regard to the renewals. Judy Wagner, our administrative assistant. And I guess the two that are standing out with this is Darren Miller on Main Street and Whiting Oil Corporation on Cleveland Road. Do you have any background for us that you could share with us?
I can share a little bit. It is an open case on both of those with DEP. There's underground tanks, and I also had something to do with Mr. Deep. So Darren Miller's has been an abandoned tank for over 5 years. I know the town waived it. That's up to you what you guys do with the license, and it has nothing to do with me. I do know there's ongoing issues going on to get rid of the tanks at this point. And the same deals with Whiting. I think they've been abandoned for approximately 2 years.
Are they just on the property there where the office
It's on
is?
a property, they're not being used. As far as I know, they're not being used.
Above, below?
Right, they're all
Below ground?
both underground tanks.
Yeah.
Judy asked me, I said, whatever you did in the past, you should do with anybody. That's up to you, the license board, you can.
What did we do in the past with Darren down here?
You gave him a break on the,
Okay. We gave him, because
Well,
it
the
wasn't
last
being
time we-
used, the last couple of times, correct me if I'm wrong.
John.
Yeah, about 3 years, we've allowed the waiver because it's not being used. Thank you.
Didn't he just upgrade them right before he shut them down?
I believe he did.
Yeah, I think they're all,
With the tanks are leaking.
I think they're all state-of-the-art tanks
Yeah.
there, so.
But DEP says they have a certain amount of time before they have to get rid of the tanks. His time has expired, and they're working at this point with them.
What are our options then? And I don't have the answer for this. If we don't allow this waiver to take place,
He would have to remove them, I think.
it would be in order to remove them.
It's up to me. I think your license board is billing $100 and not billing $100. I could be wrong in that. You might have to look, but I think that's
I really thought that we billed him last year. We just never got paid.
No. We gave him a, as Jerry says, we gave him a waiver for the exact same reason for the last 3 years.
And as for Whiting Oil,
Well, John, may I suggest we just take these one at a time? The two separate issues?
okay,
And vote
fine.
on them one way or the other, one at a time?
But I'd like to know what we did with Whiting Oil too.
Oh, I don't know.
In fact, I don't remember Whiting Oil coming up at all until
No.
this year. It was always Mr. Miller and his issues with the tanks. So, and it says for over 4 years for both of them, and I just don't remember Whiting Oil ever coming up. I just thought that we charged them, they paid for it.
I thought so too.
All right, well, let's go back to Mr. Miller. Comments on what we should do.
I think you should continue the same policy we've had for the last 3 years. Ask grant the waiver because they are not in use. They're up to date, they're standardized, and if I know Darren, which I do, he's always hopeful of somebody taking over his place. He's been there for 25 years. He's kind of a one-man band. I think he's looking for somebody to possibly take over. Everything's in ship-shape shape. He's just not using it, the gas pumps or the gas tanks. And he asked for the $100 waiver. I think it's very reasonable.
I support what John says because I know they're recently updated. I have no problem with them being leaking or anything like that, so I support the waiver.
Okay. Anyone else? Well, it seems then, I understand what you're saying. I would go along with your comments or reasoning on that. So, why don't we have a motion with regard to Mr. Miller?
Okay. I make a motion to grant Mr. Miller a waiver for his $100 fee at Miller Services on Main Street.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, this is just for the upcoming year.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. With Whiting Oil. I don't know why their fee is at 0. This is also something that I'm perplexed with, because the other ones are either, with the exception of Mass DOT and Dalton Highway, everyone has a $100 fee that's being assessed, but there's 0 on the fee for Whiting Oil.
Do we have to decide that tonight?
Yeah, I think we need more.
I was just gonna say that we might want to table that issue.
Motion to table it.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to table the Whiting Oil decision for more info. Let's try to do it for the 13th. Okay, any further discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now for the rest of the licenses, motion to approve unless there's some discussion on any particular one.
Chief, do you have any questions on any of the other ones before we?
Do you have a list of what they are?
Yeah.
Yeah,
'Cause I
you don't?
may have some questions.
Okay. Nayob Enterprises? Yeah,
Save more.
Save more on Main Street,
Yeah, no,
okay. Cumberland Farms,
good.
Wacona Country Club,
Good.
Dalton Highway.
I haven't seen any paperwork in Dalton Highway.
Oh, sorry.
Would you like to see the paperwork on Dalton Highway?
No, you're just doing the license part of this.
Okay, all right, Mass DOT.
They're waived on my thing, so I don't know if they are on yours.
Yeah, they are waived. They are waived. Crane and Company, 30 South Street and 60 Pioneer.
We're good.
Okay. That's it.
Perfect. I was
Okay.
looking for a couple of them on the list that aren't there, and that's the way it's supposed to be.
Okay, very good. So, motion to approve and I'll sign later on.
Motion to approve the rest of the licenses that we just talked about.
I'll second that motion.
Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. All right. Now we have the approval of the August 25th Run for the Troops. And Misty, pardon? Oh, yeah, I'm going to close as a licensing board. Thank you.
Sorry.
It's 8:08. Thanks, Chief. See ya.
Billy.
So we continue on with the agenda, and the August 25th Run for the Troops is what we'll be discussing. And I'll just read this letter from Misty Carterson and Michael Cachet, Sr. We are planning a 5K road race and 1 mile walk to be held on August 25th, 2019 at Pine Grove Park. The purpose of the event is to raise money and awareness for the Home Base program. The Home Base program is affiliated with the Red Sox Foundation and Massachusetts General Hospital. The program offers clinical care and support services for service member, veteran, and their families throughout the deployment cycle. The Home Base program also offers education for clinicians and the community about post-traumatic stress disorder and traumatic brain injuries and the challenges faced by the returning veteran and military families. The road race is being organized by the Cachets for the troops. Michael Cachet Sr. and Missy Carterson will be the primary contacts for this event. As mentioned above, we are planning to have the road race in town. The start will be on Curtis Avenue and the finish will be on the baseball field at Pine Grove Park. The route will not be on the state highway and therefore will not affect Mass DOT. Timeline of the day's events: 6:30 a.m. to 8 a.m. Set up informational tables, registration tables, etc. 9 a.m. the race walk begin, which should take only about an hour to an hour and a half to complete. 10:30 a.m. cleanup will take place, and 12 p.m. the park will be clear. And it is signed Missy Carterson and Michael Cachet. So, it seems like it's gonna be exactly the same it has been for the past, how many years? 5 years, was it? That they've been doing this. Is there any comments with regard to this? Can I have a motion?
Sure. I make a motion that we grant the Cachet family permission to hold their 5K race and 1 mile walk on August 25th, 2019 at Pine Grove Park for the home base program.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. I need a drink of water for the next one.
I need something stronger.
That's in that?
Then it definitely wouldn't make sense.
Oh, yeah. No, that already doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, what we're going to do is we're going to discuss the debt exclusion ballot question, which is coming up on May 13th. It is part of the general election, town general election ballot. It is the only question on the ballot, and I requested that we do this at this meeting so that we can explain to those listening what the options are with regard to funding the debt that this town will have specifically for the new Wacona High School, which is planned to be built and completed the 2021, in the summer of 2021. So I guess first off, what I'd like to do is read the ballot question. Now, just so everyone knows too, no matter how this question is voted, the high school will still be built. This is to decide on how our town specifically will pay the debt that we will owe for paying for the new school. That school will be built no matter what. It's just how we are going to pay for it. And there are some options, but this particular option is to do it through what's called a debt exclusion from Proposition 2.5. So with that, I'm going to read what the ballot question will be, and this is how it will be on the ballot on the 13th of May. It says, shall the town of Dalton be allowed to exempt from the provisions of Proposition 2.5, so-called, the amounts required to pay for its share of the bonds or notes issued by the Central Berkshire Regional School District in order to pay for the engineering, design, construction, and equipping of a new Wacona Regional High School and costs related thereto, including demolition of the former high school and borrowing costs associated with said project and all other costs incidental or related thereto. It is a simple yes or no question. And one of the people with us tonight is our chairman of the finance committee. And Bill, if you want to interject at any point in time during the discussion, feel free. Okay?
That's good.
So, there are basically three options. The first option will be a Proposition 2.5 override. The second option, which is what this question is about, is what's called a debt exclusion from Proposition 2.5. And then the third option will be for us to tax up to our what's so-called levy limit is, and then whatever we can't tax, take out of our town municipal budget. Our town municipal budget, not the school budget, the town municipal budget. There are two sides to what our budgets are. We have municipal and we have the school. Any of this funding, if we have to take it from some place other than through taxation, will be through the municipal budget. So what I want to do is try to go over what would happen if the debt for Wacona High School is not excluded. And in your packets, we have two, you've got these, Bill, right?
Yeah. Debt exclusion, no debt exclusion, or two.
Right, we're gonna go over the not excluded one. Okay, first. And this would mean, if this particular question was voted no, and our overall debt for Wacona Regional High School per year for just our town would be $1.6 million in change. That does not include any increase to our general budget, and it's only a guess on what that increase would be, but our debt, our total debt, would be higher than $1.6 million. If we were to tax over what we have on our levy limit, would be somewhere, according to this schedule, somewhere around $830,000 that we could tax to pay for this. After that, we still have that $600,000 or $700,000 to still come up with to pay that debt for the school. So where does it come from? It comes from our municipal budget. And how does that take place? Well, that takes place in reductions of our budget. Now, according to what Ken has here written up for us on page 3, at the top of page 3, that reduction that we would have to reduce or take from our municipal budget is 7% of our municipal budget, or $515,000 from our municipal budget. So that is the amount of cuts that we would have to make to our municipal budget. I hope I'm getting this clear, and if I'm not...
Yeah, you got it pretty much spot on, as far as I can see.
And so it's, where in the municipal budget does it come from? It comes from services, it comes from personnel. Those are the big ticket items. And what departments does it come from? It comes from our bigger departments, because that's where most of the funds are. I mean, it's just natural. It's going to come from highway department, it's going to come from police department, it's going to come from the general town hall departments. Like back in 1992, we six that we
I went through that.
well, I mean,
I've
that
been
we
down this road three
that we
times.
went and closed the town hall a day to save funds. It was in the 90s.
Yeah.
It was in the 90s,
96.
and that may take place again. There is no doubt that there will be. It will affect all departments in a variety of ways. Some more than others, because some departments are higher price tag than other departments. You know, you can only take so much from one versus another. So, but the bottom line is that there's $500,000 that still has to come out of the municipal budget if this particular question is voted no on the ballot, which means we will not be funding the Wacona High School through all through taxation. Any input here?
It is getting funded through taxation.
It is, but not totally.
Yeah, one observation that I pulled from Ken's information was that this method without debt exclusion, and I kind of doubled back and checked the numbers just to be sure, It's a quick, kind of a quick scan because I received it late and I had other things going on. But it's around, I think I had 400, it's around $471 going in that direction on the average taxpayer's bill.
Mm-hmm. For the average home.
For the average home.
Of
which is
$210,000.
$210,000 roughly,
Right.
yeah. So that would be the total increase on the total burden on that particular tax.
With services cut. With services cut.
Yes, that's what services cut. That's
Right.
the whole package.
Taxes will still go up.
Taxes are still gonna go up no matter what, but that's a foregone conclusion that the taxes are gonna go up.
Right.
But well, we haven't gotten into the other half of this, but that would be the least amount of pain, so to speak. I can try to think of a better word to put it, but
For tax dollar.
for per tax dollar, for the people of the town, like these nice ladies spoke of earlier, to ease that burden, we would have to take it from the town and stay away from the debt exclusion. We'll talk about that a little further in a minute. But from what I can see, and on the finance committee, as you saw with our lack of support, we felt that that burden was too large for the town, and we will want to mitigate that in some manner. If it comes to cutting the town, it's what we have to do. I've been there. It sucks a lot, but that's I'm planning on convening a meeting, not this coming Thursday, but next Thursday, the finance committee, after we've kind of had our discussion this evening, and see where the finance committee, how they feel. So we can all at least try to sing the same song. That would kind of be a good thing in this case.
Yeah.
So, now, but that scenario is without a debt exclusion.
Without a debt exclusion. Now,
with the debt exclusion.
With the debt exclusion, if you go to the other budget sheet, if this is voted yes, then we will be allowed to raise the funds that we will need to pay for the new school exclusively through taxation. Which, again, it's the same amount of money, but we would not have to draw upon cutting our municipal budget or making these cutbacks on the municipal budget. It would still leave us with levy capacity if we so needed to, but everything would be paid through taxes. Now, with that said, the tax increase would be higher with the debt excluded vote, or the debt excluded process of paying for the new school. And in contrast with what Bill just said about taxes the other way going up $470 in change, it will go up approximately $649 annually for the average home of $210,000 of value. So
that's just for the school, correct?
no, that's for everything.
Everything.
That's for everything. And Ken even figured in on both of these as for the amount of town increase in general for the town budget. See, it's not just the school budget. You know, each year you can figure, well, it's going to go up 2.5%, basically. 2 to 2.5%.
Ms. Kasna has promised us a 2% increase each year after the new school is built. That's in print.
Where was that in print?
Berkshire Eagle.
When was that in print?
Well, you're going to make me remember that.
Well, I'd like to know because
yeah,
I haven't seen that promise of a 2% increase
I
with
believe
them.
That was, I think it was one of Larry's articles that he did.
I'll have to go back and research it.
Yeah.
Either that or I'll just ask, so,
Yeah, ask them.
yeah, I'll just ask.
I'm relatively sure it was.
And I don't
And I
understand how they
said
can,
she
I don't understand how they can figure that, but
I don't
again,
either. I had the same question when the issue came up.
yeah.
And that's kind of where, and that's why the finance
Well,
committee where it went.
And then
We
again,
anticipated that.
all the costs, no matter what it's gonna be, the municipal side or the school side, it's gonna increase somewhat. It always does. You know, it all depends on how high the increase is.
Well, let me step back a little bit and preface this, all of this. One of the reasons that the town has stayed as healthy as it has stayed is that the school district has been very good about keeping their budgets pretty tight. I know
Yes.
you've seen it.
Yeah.
They've been, I think the maximum we saw in recent years was 2%. In, I would say, the last 4 years.
Well,
Roughly,
this
four-
past year was
It was under.
below 1%. It was
Yeah,
almost
below
like a half
1%.
percent,
And that's
yeah.
one of the reasons why we've been able to stay healthy. If indeed we're going to take on this debt, if indeed we take this on, we need to get that same, we need to continue to get that kind of a performance from our school district. We've been, the town has been performing. We've been at what, 0.5% for how many years? Not even 1% for how many years? You know, and the town has many needs at this point. You know, computer system's one of them, but that's beside the point. But it's those are things that are needed in order for this to happen. Whether we debt exclude or we do not debt exclude, we need to kind of have the school district to step up to the plate for this as well. They've advocated for it. It's a good thing, I'm assuming this, that you've been on all of the meetings, and so it's a good thing that a new school is being built, but we need to impress upon the school district that if this is, because if all of a sudden we go back to the 95 insurance crisis that we went through, I'm going to tell you, we had some very unflattering finance committee meetings, and if we end up going back to that, it's going to be difficult. And it's going to be very difficult. We lost, I don't know if you were on it, we lost one of the shifts in the police department.
No, we didn't lose a
We ended up
shift.
not losing a shift?
No, we never lost a shift.
But we lost an officer.
We lost two officers through attrition, retirements,
Yeah.
and that was it. We never lost coverage.
I know we lost at least 2 positions in the highway department.
Yes.
At least.
Yeah.
And I think we sent some to part-time,
Mhm.
if I recall. And we cut some people out of the communications, didn't we?
No.
I thought we put a pretty hefty cut in. We attempted to
Communications
pull-
was already at a bare bones anyways. They're minimally staffed, you know, so, and it always has been that way.
So, but we need to, I guess.
And they're funded through a grant as well. They weren't at that point in time.
Well, the question, I guess, in that case, when it comes down to cuts, would we be taking a look at setting that as those grants as a revenue source?
Well, I think-
Along with that excess ability, that it runs around $180,000 a year, doesn't it? So
I think that
would give us some levy, that would give us some capacity to do this.
I think that debate should take place when we have to figure that out.
Plan of some kind.
But we'll have that plan. We'll have to have that plan set within the next year and a half, because this particular, no matter what happens, this particular bond won't be due in full for about 2 fiscal years.
Well, it'll be fiscal 2022.
Yeah. So that discussion will take place, you know, if this fails, if this particular thing fails.
Just when it comes down to that, the 649, I believe, the reason that is for the debt service on that. That's where the
Increased debt service, yes.
But if we do a debt exclusion, there's increased debt service.
Yes.
It's where if the town simply goes without going into debt, into that kind of a debt, the town would end up, I would think, ultimately borrowing the money like we do for a police car or something like that. Isn't that how that would work?
What, for
So
the
we
school?
would pay the bill for the school?
Well, the school does that. School bills us.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So we would, if we knew what the bill, we could use
No,
that
because then
method?
we'd be back
Back to kind of doing the same. That's why I'm
doing the
asking.
same thing. No, it's
seems
all
like
through,
the same
it's
thing.
all through what the school's gonna do, and then they bill us.
Okay,
We
that's
have to
what I
pay
thought.
for it no matter what.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
And,
Just wanted to make sure.
that's why we're discussing how it can be paid for. And there's really only, there's 3 ways, but let's just say there's 2 ways. It's through total taxation or part taxation, and the rest, with cuts to our budget, to the municipal budget. So, I've been doing a lot of talking here.
I have a couple concerns. No matter what we do, we're talking just next year, or 2020, right? What happens? That's just 1 year. This thing's gonna be 30 years.
That's it. That's if we had to do it next year. It
Right.
won't be totally due next year. He just did it
Okay.
with the numbers that we have, instead of projecting it out 2 fiscal years,
But
he
it's
just
still gonna
projected out
hit
the
us, no
first.
matter what we do.
Yes.
It's still gonna be there for 30 years.
Yes.
If we go this route of trying to eat this to the town budget, I don't see how this town's gonna survive 30 years. We ran up our credit card, to the limit on this baby. We're gonna have to figure a way out of that. But if we go this route, it's not good for the town.
I think the thing is, the people that voted for this, it passed in Dalton, I think it was 275 votes, somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm.
They knew what the increase for a debt exclusion was, and that's why they voted for it, and that's what they supported. So.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they voted for a debt exclusion. They voted for a.
They knew what the tax increase was going to be.
Did you have
So,
something?
yeah, you'd back to the possibility of cutting a municipal budget due to a $500,000 deficit. Cutting a municipal budget isn't as easy as it seems.
Right.
People throw out simplistic solutions, cut every department 10%. But it simply doesn't work that way because some departments cannot be cut. For instance, bonded indebtedness. You owe money, you have to pay it.
Right.
So you can't cut that. So what happens? I've been through these things too, with Billy and yourself.
Yeah.
Down the road.
What happens is the preponderance of cuts come from departments that are optional. Police coverage, highways, recreation will bear an ordinary percentage of the cuts.
Yep.
In this kind of a process, that's the only way it can work. It's the only way you can do it. And, other personnel too. So, it would be a devastating blow to the municipal government if we were forced to do this. And we have been in the past. And it's not an easy thing to go through, and it's not an easy thing to figure. And it definitely impacts services. That's what happened before. As Billy pointed out, it impacted the police department, it impacted the highway department.
It's
Closed the town hall, which we still haven't recovered from,
Right.
from 5 to 4 days. We cut back on the building inspector. That'd probably be the first thing to go.
Yeah.
So it's imperative, again, I repeat, that the people embrace this proposal and vote for this, to exclude this bonded indebtedness on
Right.
May 13th.
I would have to agree with that. I don't like the fact that we have to do it,
No.
but there's no other alternative.
Another thing is like insurance. You can't cut your insurance. You have to insure your property. So
We knew.
so
we
it
knew,
becomes,
But the question
We knew
comes-
this would come to.
yeah.
This would come to this.
The question also comes up when we do this, as Bob had mentioned, and I've thought it, hadn't verbalized it very much, is at what point do the bondholders, whoever they may be, when do they say, okay, you've spent enough money and you've gone out to your limit, and I know there's a limit. Kenny and I did have a conversation about it. I don't know where that limit is. He wasn't positive when I talked to Kenny about it. But there is a limit. And at what point do our bond ratings begin? We have a AA bond rating right now. We're going to take on over $30 million in debt for 30 years, where's that sending our bond?
I don't know that bond is, it's not our bond anyways, it's the school's bond.
But what Bill is saying, that's where we'll start, Bill.
But we owe the money.
We owe the
That-
money, yeah.
That affects our ability to
Right.
pay.
If we see our ratings drop from AA to single A or triple B,
Yeah, that's
then you know that the
$639.
bond holders or bond buyers, whatever you want to call them,
Yeah.
are not looking upon Dalton in a favorable manner. So in other words, don't borrow anymore.
And that was the finance committee's concern.
Huh?
Everything that we've talked about, trying to finance this thing, that's why we voted the way we voted.
Mm-hmm.
We did not support it because the ability for us to support it just simply wasn't there. It just simply wasn't there. And
I understand why
so
you didn't.
I'm grappling with this, John. I've spent more than my share of sleepless nights trying to figure this out. And as for debt exclusion, I'm concerned with the debt exclusion in that it will affect the value of this town, the $612 million that the town is worth. If we go to a debt exclusion,
Mm-hmm.
is that going to devalue the town overall when it comes down to that? That's the real question. I'm having difficulty supporting the debt exclusion is what I'm having trouble with.
Well,
And as much as I don't like it, as much as I would rather not have to do it in the first place, but I'm having difficulty supporting the debt exclusion just for those reasons. That if, for instance, we have a need, like a sewer main break or something of that nature, and we do have to go to the debt exclusion to accomplish something like that, then by all means, then we can do that. But if we've already promised a debt exclusion to pay for the school at that point, then where are we?
We haven't lost our ability to levy taxes. Our levy limit is still there at another $1 million. If we have to. If we go with a debt exclusion, it does not affect our levy capacity. That's the other thing. So that $800,000 to $1 million where we could use to increase taxes is still there.
That just to let you know on that levy capacity,
Mm-hmm.
I've watched a levy capacity of that size disappear in less than 2 fiscal years.
There's
John
a
and I
lot.
watched
There's a
it.
lot.
We
It was
watched
only
it go
3
down
years
to
ago we were,
what was it, $34,000 we bottomed out
Yep.
at? So
Mhm.
that levy limit is not, that levy capacity is not something to look at as an ability to make things, and the levy, I guess that was why I didn't want to go in that, because over time, that levy capacity, as long as values rise, the levy capacity will come back. But if we debt exclude, then we're throwing out $680. That's or $650 a year for the average taxpayer. What we're doing is we're taking a gamble on lowering the ability of the people to pay their tax bill in the first place by almost $200, 270 and change. That's what we're lowering their ability to pay their taxes by.
207. Where's the 270?
170.
170.
Yeah, it's $471 versus $649.
Right.
So it's that ability for people to simply be able to pay their taxes, as we heard today. People want to, if at least we can keep it that tight. I'd advocate for us to keep it that tight instead of going for the bigger nugget, because if we do, I'm afraid to say that I think there may be an exodus. Do we want to take that gamble? I don't want to.
an exodus?
Well, she just said 10 houses have already gone on the market in less than a month.
I said this is the last meeting.
More. That's my concern.
I talked to 2 realtors in town. We all know all who the realtors are. And the day after the vote, he sold a house on South Street. South Street, right?
I've been inspecting them.
Yeah.
I know it's been selling.
And it sold for over the asking price, simply because the people who were the buyers wanted to live in this town because this town committed to building a new school. And they're very encouraged about where the market's going to go in Dalton. So
I would point out also timing-wise, the number of houses go on the market increased at this time of the year.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, of
spring.
course.
Yes, so
Yeah.
the fact that it's 10 more is normal.
I can't disagree with you.
Okay.
I can't disagree with
Yeah.
you. But that's
I just think
something we need
it's-
to be aware of.
I just think it's foolish not to have this debt exclusion. I can't see us losing what we have for town services as they are, and we will. We will lose, and that's what everyone is still complaining about to this day. We don't have enough town services, and to cut it by that much,
I can't disagree with you.
you know.
So it's kind of a,
Why we did what we did.
if you're, Bill, I think I know where this board stands, but the finance committee, I don't know, it seemed to be, and maybe rightfully so, wandering around there, out there in the wilderness. This might happen, that might happen, but what will happen? If we don't pass this debt exclusion, we'll be forced to gut the town government. That is a fact. So it's kind of a choice with the finance committee.
That could cause people to leave town, you know.
Yeah.
If you don't have a good police department,
Or
I'd be
if they
nervous.
don't plow the roads anymore.
Yeah.
You know,
Can't plow the road, you can't get to the school, I suppose.
yeah, so, you know, it's kind of a simple equation. Everything you mentioned is certainly relevant, but
There's
it's that
a
simple,
lot
isn't
of,
it?
I have to agree with John, there's a lot of what ifs that could happen. There's no doubt. We don't have the crystal ball to say, okay, this will take place because of this next year. We do know one thing that'll take place. We owe this money.
Yes.
We owe this money. We owe it for 30 years. How are we going to pay for it? We have to pay for it no matter what, period. And what is the path of least resistance? What is the path that will help? No, may
What's
not
best
help
for
us
the
all,
town?
but the most of us.
Well,
It is definitely.
A lot, over 50% are elderly in the town. Should we look there? That's the question. That's all I'm putting out there.
Mhm.
You know, even though we do have, we're talking about things that we're going to cut, we're going to take out. I can't disagree with any of that, and I'm not disagreeing with any of it at all. But the fiscal responsibility needs to be taken at some point. You know, however we take it, we take it. I have a hard time supporting it, and I don't know how the I can't speak for the entire finance committee on that, because I haven't brought this to them yet, only because I wanted to see where this was going. And as for debt exclusion or not, I'm going to leave it up to them. I know where I stand.
I can
And I've
pursue
made
that.
that more than clear tonight. I just, there's of course there's places to cut in all of the towns if we had to.
But we don't
want to.
We don't have $500,000 or $600,000 to cut.
Well, I don't disagree. We do. We can't cut that much. Would be a challenge, and it's not going to be pretty if it happens. But debt exclusions are difficult to get through this town, as it is. You can have your 200 votes in favor for the school, but when it comes down to the debt exclusion, I've been down that road. I've been down it numerous times, not even a couple. And debt exclusions, number one, are divisive to the town, first and foremost. And if indeed we do end up without the debt exclusion, we have to know that we're going to have to cut. As for using the debt exclusion, I disagree with it because it's a nearly a $200 decrease. That's my reasoning. Past that, I'm listening to all the elderly, the young people. They're trying to maintain their houses for their $210,000 house, first-time home buyers. Let me tell you something. Those are the people that are talking to me, and that's, we talk about, oh, I just sold the house in a few weeks. And, yeah, okay, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the point. That's the reason that I'm having difficulty supporting the debt exclusion. My mind will probably may get changed between now and then, but right now I feel for the people that are older and the young people that are trying to stay here.
I feel for them too.
Yeah, I guess My concern is that we may be heading to this kind of some level of exclusivity to this town, and it concerns me.
Well,
And
again, I don't think we're gonna be able to realize that until down the road
we
when
won't
things
see it
happen.
till 2022, fiscal 2022, so, but thank you.
Yeah. Joe, you had a comment you wanted to make. I'll let you go ahead and make it.
I do. This is a good conversation, but I think one thing we're missing is educating the town of the choices and a clear choice. We knew going into this, in the feasibility study, that we're gonna look at $70 million. We knew where we're headed. As a supporter of the school, we need to make sure our town understands our two choices of Prop 2.5 override or levy limit capacity or debt exclusion. As a voter supporting it, I voted yes, and I'm gonna push for debt exclusion, because that's the right thing to do. Our seniors don't wanna lose services, no one wants to lose services. And I'd like to see our finance committee help educate the town. Have that open meeting, have that discussion, and educate the town on what the options are for voters, and not necessarily taking a position. Because I'm gonna be out there fast and furious, helping educate our town to move to debt exclusion. Every member of the town I talk to that supported the school supports debt exclusion, because we don't want to see our services impacted. Thank you.
Thank you. Comments from the board? Additional comments?
Just one thing.
Go right
Very
ahead.
well put, Joe. Strip everything aside. That's what it comes down to. If you don't vote for the debt exclusion, there's going to be it's not no ifs, ands, and buts. There's going to be a severe cut in town services. Road plowing, police, and recreation, building inspectors, you name it, it's probably going to be gone. Town hall closed down to 1 or 2 days. So, I mean, if that's what you're advocating, Bill, and it clearly is, and you said you haven't made up your mind, it's up to the board, that's just beating around the bush. You're the leader. You came to us for guidance, in our opinion. We're giving it to you, I think. I would hope that you would stand by the town government.
That opinion is going to be conveyed.
Mm-hmm. I think the chairman should go to this meeting and convey our opinion.
It's an open meeting. You're more than welcome to come. It's not a closed meeting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm having another meeting too. It all depends on when you have your meeting too, if I can even get there.
It's going to be the 2nd of May. I haven't posted it yet because I wanted to know that.
Okay, everything's happening the 2nd of May.
Oh, no.
But at any rate, it's just something else that I'm involved with. So,
it's going to be an open meeting posted, so you're
well, I know.
more than welcome.
I know that. It can't be an executive session meeting. It's an open meeting, the finance committee. But yeah, if I can, but you know, it always helps to have another sidekick there too. You know, from the select board, we can't have 3. We can have 1. We can have 2.
If the whole panel show up, it'll certainly.
No, then that's an illegal meeting.
It's all right if you get.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. 'Cause you
Yeah. So at any rate, further comments or just on discussion on this?
Just one more thing, Jeff.
Go right.
Bill, you hit the nail right ahead when you spoke earlier, and we're in complete agreement with that we have to keep the school district's feet to the fire to keep the budget down over the years. And that's the only thing we can do. And on a positive note, it's been indicated by the Massachusetts legislature that they're going to increase substantially Chapter 70 aid. So that will be helpful. So we may be in a good position with that budget for a few years.
Again, we don't know.
Yep.
We're guessing at budgets.
Yep.
We do know what's going to happen with this.
Yep.
And that's what we're really deciding upon. Whether we support a positive vote. I'm talking about as a board, because we make these policy decisions on questions and warrant articles all the time, whether we support them or not. And what I'm looking for is that type of position vote tonight, whether we support a positive outcome on this ballot question or not. And when we get done with our discussion, I'm just going to ask for that type of motion. But I want to make sure our discussion is over with.
Okay, I just have one more thing to say.
Go right ahead.
No matter which way we vote, this town it's not good for the next 2 years. I mean, we have stuffed it to ourselves, and there's gonna be rough times ahead no matter which way we vote. I have to support the override because I think that's the least path of resistance in my eyes. And I cannot sit here and see these people in this town hall or out there at the highway getting their jobs cut because of a new school. I'm sorry, but that's the way it is.
Other final comments? Okay, can we have a motion?
I make a motion that we support the override as a board.
I'll second that.
Well, could I ask
A positive.
The debt exclusion.
a positive vote on the debt exclusion vote?
I make
Yes.
a motion, yeah, we do a positive debt exclusion vote.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we get this right. Nancy, how are you writing this?
Positive vote for the debt exclusion.
Okay, a positive vote for the debt exclusion, or a positive vote for the ballot question on the May 15th ballot.
So moved.
Positive vote.
Second.
Ballot.
Okay, it's been moved, motion's been made and seconded. Is there further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. Thank you, Bill.
Come join us.
Hey,
I think I thought, we're definitely.
you got anybody left down there? Any new members?
Oh, we got plenty of people.
Oh, good.
We actually got another one that's volunteering.
Yeah, I'll be there in a few more weeks. I won't be here, but I'll be down there.
Come join us.
But it's from, well, I shouldn't discuss it, so I'd like to make a statement on that, but I'm not going to. No, it's a good statement, but I just can't get into that discussion because it's not part of the
Yeah.
that election.
Motion's already been taken, but
Yeah.
when it comes down to it, I think we're just kind of I guess more of a general comment is that no matter where this goes, the town needs to kind of come together and work on this thing. There's a couple other little things that I guess that we kind of talk about,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe try to split it or something of that nature, maybe. So do something a little different instead of taking the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe talk about that. But
Okay.
I have to. But there's. That's why I haven't said that I don't particularly like that exclusion, but that doesn't mean it's a no for me. That just doesn't mean at this moment I don't like it.
Okay.
That's all.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very
Hey,
much.
Bill.
Yeah.
Karen?
Thank
Have
you.
a good night,
You
gentlemen.
too.
Ladies.
Can I just say one more thing?
No.
Go ahead.
All right, no.
Go ahead.
The one thing we have to be careful about is that people who are against the new school think that by voting against the debt exclusion, they are going to somehow stop the new school building. That's I think, a misconception some people may have.
That's why we're saying no matter how this vote turns out, the new school will be built.
Right, we have to keep saying that.
Yep.
The-
It's how we pay for it.
That is correct, that's right, that's an important message.
we
There
as-
will be people that don't quite have that right yet.
Right. And we as a board feel that the best way to pay for this is
Yes.
through a debt exclusion.
Yes. We have to pay for it, and this is what we think is the best way. Yes, that's
Okay.
very good.
Let us move on.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we have the, we spoke about this agreement with the dispatchers, Dalton Dispatchers Association, with regard to a new hire that is taking place. And this is a memorandum of agreement, which we need to decide upon and allow Ken to sign it. The Dalton Dispatchers Association has already agreed to this, so the collective bargaining unit has agreed to this. And I know it's a little lengthy, but I need to read it so it's in the record. Now comes the town of Dalton, which is the town, and the Dalton Dispatchers Association, which is the association, and enter into this agreement for good and valuable consideration. Whereas the association represents a bargaining unit of dispatchers employed by the town, and whereas the town of the town and association are parties to a collective bargaining agreement, which is CBA, and whereas Frank M. Speth III is a reserve dispatcher for the town and is being hired as a regular dispatcher as those terms are defined under Article 1 of the collective bargaining agreement, and whereas reserve dispatcher Speth is a member of the bargaining unit represented by the association and will complete 6 years of service on July 9th, 2019. And whereas Mr. Speth has been employed as a full-time dispatcher with continuous service for the town of Lee and the Berkshire County Sheriff's Department since 2002. Now, therefore, the parties agree to the following. Mr. Speth shall begin his service as a regular dispatcher on or about April 29th, 2019. Mr. Speth shall enter pay scale at step 4 upon commencing his service as a regular dispatcher, notwithstanding the provisions of Article 3 of the collective bargaining agreement. Mr. Speth shall annually receive 2 weeks of vacation beginning on July 1, 2019, notwithstanding the provisions of Article 11 of the collective bargaining agreement. Mr. Speth shall annually receive 4 days of personal leave beginning on July 1, 2019, notwithstanding the provisions of Article 13 of the CBA. A 5th personal day is available under said article to be taken from accrued sick leave. Mr. Speth's 1-year full-time service anniversary date for the purposes of computing future vacation and personal leave benefits shall be July 1, 2019. Nothing in this agreement shall serve to limit the town's right under the parties of the collective bargaining agreement. This agreement shall be without precedent or prejudice and shall not be introduced any form except to enforce its terms. So I will need a motion to accept and allow Ken to sign this agreement with the Dalton Dispatchers Association.
Okay, I make a motion that we accept this agreement and allow Ken to sign it for the town.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. So any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. Which brings us to items for future agendas. We're going to take off, obviously, the ballot question issue. And everything else is going to remain the same. Is there anything that anyone would like to add at this point in time?
Yeah, it's something I'll work on, but getting the crosswalks on Main Street painted. And I'll have to go through Mass DOT, correct? Yeah.
Pretty terrible.
Yeah, barely see them, and I'll talk also to
When you have,
John Ruffley.
well, I probably won't be here. Wherever's the chair.
What's that?
We'll just put it on the agenda when you have some type of a
All right.
response. Yeah.
And I'll just tell the board, and I'll talk to John Ruffley also about getting our own crosswalks done. See if we get those painted up. But
Okay. Anything else, folks? Okay. Remarks of the select board. Now, John, I'll let you do this if you'd like. This is your baby here. And,
This is a prototype of the invitation that's going out and has gone out to some of our more distinguished state officials and congressmen and so forth and so on. And members of the board, you'll all be getting your personalized invitation. And that's pretty much it. Everything is going well, except one little glitch I might mention.
Can you explain what this is? So they know what we're talking about?
Sorry, John.
That's okay.
This is a prototype invitation. I will read it. You and your guests are cordially invited to honor the memory of U.S. Sergeant, U.S. Army Specialist Mitchell K. Daling, who was killed in action May 14, 2013 in Sanjareh, Afghanistan. The town of Dalton will dedicate a bridge in his name when? Saturday, June 1st, 2019 at 11 a.m. Where? Old Windsor Road, west of Wacona Regional High School, Dalton, Mass. For additional information, blah, blah, blah. Contact John Boyle, Selectman. I hope we would have a good community turnout. I realize it's a very busy week with all the high school graduations, class nights. But it was the only choice to do it this day because that's the only day the Daling family will be in town. They're far-flung, Colorado, Maine, Massachusetts are all over the place, and they're here for the Lacona Regional class night where they dedicate a scholarship in Mitchell Dowling's name. So they come from far afield for that occasion every year. So it made sense to do it on a Saturday. And I realized Memorial Day is Monday. That's another thing. We've all got the parade if we're interested in it. And this will be on Wednesday. I hope you and your family and anyone else can attend. One little glitch I got here, it just really aggravates me to no end because I knew it was going to happen, but I hoped against hope that this wouldn't happen. When I started this in last June, in early July, I remember even talking to Mark, the biggest problem with this is the state of Massachusetts putting up them signs. Because, as you know, our town meeting action on December 3rd, it was a request for them to do it. Actually, it had been requested in July, but we didn't have the right lingo in it, right lingo in there. Now, that was in December. Well, here it is April, and nothing's happened.
Yeah.
Well, it's less than 5 weeks. I need to get the legislation passed, the governor to sign it, forward it to the Department of DOT in Lenox, build the signs, and install them. Yeah. So, tomorrow morning, my first thing on my agenda is to rattle some cages.
Okay.
Like start with Paul Mark.
Yeah.
Hey, back in December you told us a couple of months. So that's where it stands.
Okay.
I'm certain I can make it work out, but it's like he's board advised.
John, how's the other plaque coming on?
Oh, it's being found. Yeah, the plaque. The plaque is being what do you call it? When they cast. It's in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and it should be here in any day.
So we'll have that at least.
Yeah, we'll have that.
At least the plaque then.
I have the plaque. There's a mini problem with that. You have to drive an I-beam down and mount the plaque on it.
Wow.
Just so happens, right where we want to put the plaque, there's a gas main.
I was just gonna say.
But work on that.
Be careful.
I can straighten them problems out.
Yeah, I'm sure you
The state
can.
legislature is a different story.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. We'll work on that then.
yeah. The
Alrighty.
plaque, yeah. Yep. In fact, she told me 3 weeks, and that would have been 3 weeks today. I have it in my hands.
Okay.
They got Pete Salvatore Construction there. It's gonna
Good.
get it mounted on an I-beam and put it in there. Yeah.
Any other remarks?
Yeah, I have just one quick one.
Go ahead.
From all the telephone, electric pole replacements, they still haven't cleaned up a lot of areas yet. Where do we stand on getting after Eversource to clean up that mess?
You mean removing the poles?
No, removing all the rocks and everything else, they're
Oh.
gonna come back and get.
Well, remember the explanation was you still have the new pole, and are you talking about the new pole and the old pole are still there?
Not only that, there's the piles of rocks
Right.
on the side.
So when they pull the old pole, their rationale is that dirt and debris goes in the hole of the old pole.
Okay. Well, I'm not.
And the old pole doesn't get removed until Verizon removes it.
Oh my God.
Because that's a Verizon stub, what they call a stub. Yeah. Talk about bureaucracy.
Yep.
But
Okay.
that's how it works. I mean, if it's a problem with erosion, like it was, remember on First Street and down in that area, we had them remove it because of it was flowing into the street. So if there are issues with that,
Okay.
we can probably have them do that.
So anyway, we can get Ken to have him get us an update on what's
Bob,
gonna happen.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the beginning of your statement. Where is this now? The location?
Wherever they're moving, there's a lot of piles. You will drive
Yeah,
throughout.
at Depot Street, they've been here for a couple of years. They did a lot of pole work. In fact, just cut off pieces laying in the ground,
Yeah.
rocks and piles of dirt. We talked about that once before.
Right. They need to get it cleaned up.
Well, I'm gonna put it on the agenda then. Okay, anything else, folks? I just want to, in closing, just thank everyone for debating the issue with the question on for May 13th for the school. It's a difficult one to deal with, but one we definitely have to deal with, and thank you for your input, and we'll see what happens.
Yep.
We'll see what happens.
This is our last chance as a public body to talk about it.
It's our only chance,
Yeah.
yes. Yes, it was our only chance. So with that, I'm gonna go into the announcements. I hold office hours by appointment at the Dalton Town Hall when available, and at the Dalton Senior Center every fourth Thursday of the month from 4:30 p.m. to 6 p.m. And as a note on this upcoming fourth Thursday, which is this Thursday, the 25th, this Thursday is gonna be dedicated to, and the director of the Senior Center and the people down at the Senior Center have been promoting me giving a similar type of explanation to those who want it on this debt exclusion question on the ballot. So that's going to be from 4:30 to 6, and I hope people attend. If they have any questions on it, it's going to be an open forum. I'm going to give an explanation and leave it open for questions, and hopefully I will have the proper answers or the answers for them at that time. So that's this Thursday, starting at 4:30 p.m.
John?
Yes.
Can I just, a suggestion in your speech to these folks?
Mm-hmm.
Is that there are a lot of avenues open to relief from taxation to the elderly community.
Mm-hmm.
As Mrs.
Peters?
Yeah, suggested that was one of them. But there's other, the assessor's office, there's rebates for the elderly.
Mm-hmm.
And also, there's rebates for veterans, and there's rebates, reductions in taxes for veterans' widows.
Okay.
So there are avenues to pursue, and you might want to work that in and even check with the assessors what's available. And tell, hey, you're not left totally hanging here. Your community does support you and has thought of you as being a senior citizen.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
To reserve time at the Dalton Senior Center, please call 684-2000 for information. Further information or to schedule other appointments, please call 413-684-6111, extension 11, or my home phone at 413-684-2526. State Representative Paul Mark holds office hours at the Dalton Town Hall, 462 Main Street, the Callahan Room on Tuesdays from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., with the exception of the third Tuesday of each month. On the third Tuesday, office hours are 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Town Hall and from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. at the Dalton Senior Center. You can reach his office at his district number, which is 413-464-5635. The Green Dalton Committee is looking for new members. If interested, contact the town manager's office at 413-684-6111, extension 11. Now I declare that an open meeting may have detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body.
I move we go into executive session to conduct the strategy and preparations for negotiations with union and non-union personnel and not return to open session.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Mr. Boyle?
Yes.
Mr. Hollow?
Yes.
Mr. Bishop?
Yes.
Mr. Strout?
Yes.
Mr. Bartels, yes. We are in adjournment for 5 minutes.
Yeah, nothing.